Okay guys, so I'm going to give you my POV impressions of this car. As I mentioned, we've done just over 1,000 miles now, and we've got a bit more of an informed opinion about some things that we like, as well as a few things that have been annoying us. And before I get into those, let's talk about the admin stuff, so fuel, because I've just come from the petrol station, so this is a good place to start. To fill this car up, it costs us around 95 quid. That is 99 Momentum from Tesco. It's just so happens that a Tesco garage is the closest to our home, so it's usually the one that we go to, and the 99 is, you know, fairly decent fuel anyway. So 95 quid to fill it up. We haven't really been keeping an eye on how long a full tank lasts. However, I am going to be doing that for the week ahead. I'm intrigued now. We're going to be doing our usual school runs, but then also a couple of trips that are, you know, out of the ordinary for us on a week-to-week basis. So I am intrigued how long this full tank will last us. What I can say is it feels like for that just over 1,000 miles, I think it's 1,100 and something, we have been to the petrol station a fair amount of times. So we knew this car wasn't going to be very economical, and that's okay, but we can't yet give you any kind of real life statistics to go with that. Obviously, being so new, there hasn't been any other costs that we've had to kind of factor into our ownership just yet. I did mention in the previous video that I would be changing the tyres. I haven't yet done that, so this is still on the Bridgestones. I don't know how much the Pilot Sport 4 SUVs are going to be, but I reckon they're going to be, you know what, mate? I reckon they're going to be somewhere in the region of 200 to 250 quid a tyre, just basing that loosely off what they cost for the Range Rover. And servicing, etc., obviously we've not encountered that yet. The car is actually due a service. I think it's a bedding in service, or at least I hope that's what it is, because we started getting messages on the dash telling us the car was due a service in 10,000 miles, and then we noticed that 10,000 miles was coming down in quite big increments. So now when we jump in the car, it tells us that a service is overdue. So I think it's either the bedding in service or something's wrong. I didn't think this car would need a bedding in service, but I'm also trying not to expect that something is wrong so soon and it become a bad omen. So I'll keep you posted on that. And that's it really. Fuel. Obviously the tyres will be a one-off as and when, and there's been no servicing costs yet, so we're all good. Now I know a couple of people did comment on the previous video I made about this car, asking me to talk about the finances in terms of how much have we paid, what deposit did we put in, etc. I might make a video discussing that. As some of you long-term subscribers will know, I made car finance videos in the past and they just didn't go down very well at all. Although I am a bit more informed now about car finance and would like to think that I would have a bit more of an idea of what I was talking about, I'm still a little bit apprehensive about actually making the videos. So I might do, I don't know, I haven't decided. What I can tell you is it is cheaper than our Range Rover was, and yeah, we got quite a good deal on this car, so that's as much as I'm willing to share at the moment. I know that's going to annoy some of you, but yeah, watch this space, maybe that video will come. So let's just talk about driving. What's it like to drive? I've been trying to think of things to mention in this video because I didn't want it to be a short video. I wanted it to be useful, but it's been quite difficult. It's just a great car to drive. It's very smooth through the gears. It's really well planted on the road. Now, when you have the car in Sport Plus mode, you do get a little bit more sound that comes through the cabin. And you do hear a bit more of that engine, but we found that it does hang on to gears, so we then kind of use the paddles instead. We haven't really used Sport Plus mode that much. I will occasionally use it, and when I do push the car, as comfortable as I am to its limits, you do find in some corners it does get a bit squirmy, but apart from that, it is really well planted and is very comfortable. It's nice and responsive. That's the one thing that, you know, we noticed immediately coming from a diesel, was it's a lot more responsive, you know, a bit more kind of nippy feeling. So, you know, darting in and around town, etc., is a lot more comfortable now. A lot easier to park, particularly with the cameras and whatnot. That helps a lot. Yeah, just all round a much nicer car to be in. You know, the interior is very nice. It's really nice to drive at night because you've got all of the mood lighting, etc. We have the pan roof, which helps for driving on days like this, although the weather can't quite make its mind up. But it's nice to just have a bit of an airy feeling in here, and it's just a really difficult car to fault. However, there are a couple of things that have begun to annoy us slightly. So the first one, and I know I made a video about our Range Rover and I mentioned the boot lid, but actually this time I think we've got some solid grounds here to be a bit frustrated by it, because you can either open the boot from obviously walking up to it and pulling the handle the kind of normal way, or you can open it with the key, or there's a button here that you can use to open it as well. But what we found is with this button and the key, it's a bit temperamental. So sometimes you can press the button on the key once and it will open all the way. Other times you have to hold the button down for it to open the whole way, because if you just press the button, it will just open slightly. And the same with this button here on the door. With closing, you have to hold it regardless. It doesn't close automatically with just one push of the button. But opening, it's a bit kind of temperamental, and we haven't figured out what could be causing the difference. So why does it sometimes open the whole way, whereas other times it doesn't? It's really random, really weird. The other thing, very minor, is the parking cameras. So sometimes we've noticed that the car will tell us to kind of straighten up. When we get out of the car, we're not actually straight. And then finally, and this one's a bit more of a constant bugbear of mine actually, is the stereo. The stereo is upgraded Harman Kardon. I mentioned it in the previous video. It cost us £800 to add this stereo to this car, and you know, I expected better. The equalizer, I can never say that word, comes flat, so you do have to play around with the settings, which I have now done. I went as far as watching a YouTube video just to try and see if I could make it sound any better than it does. No luck at all. One song it will sound okay-ish, you'll go to the next song and it sounds awful. And we're not talking about completely different genres of music either. It's not like we're going from, you know, drum and bass to rap. The stereo is just not very good, and I notice it more when I drive my car. So if I've driven my RS3, that has the Bang & Olufsen system, which is now 4 years old, but that sounds far superior to this. And you only have two options in this car, the standard or Harman Kardon. In the X5s you get the one above the Harman Kardon, I think is the Bernhaus, or however you pronounce it. So that's a little bit frustrating. The stereo is kind of my bugbear. I am not going to give up, so I am going to continue to play around with the settings and see if I can figure out a way to just make it sound better. But yeah, so far not impressed. And that's about it in terms of things that annoy us about the car. It's very minor things, granted, and they are only bugbears at the moment, and some of them could probably be remedied quite easily. We are going to take the car back to BMW, one, to kind of get clarification of what that service light means, but then also we'll ask them about the boot lid and just say, you know, is it something that we're doing wrong, or like, you know, what could be causing that, and just go from there. So, you know, potentially two of those things are going to be kind of very easily fixed anyway. Stereo wise, you know, if any of you have got any links to some good videos that I could watch to maybe try and replicate the settings, just send them my way and I'll give it a go. I did find a video that was really useful. It was a guy who owned a G80 M3 over in the US. He shared his settings and it definitely improved the sound, but overall still sounded a bit crap. But like I said, they are just bugbears, you know, very minor things, and they by no means impact the way the car drives, and that's why overall we're very, very happy with the decision that we made to go for this car. Of the other cars that we test drove, not to kind of badmouth them, but none of them were as smooth or as responsive as this car is. Of course you do pay a slight premium for the M40i, but you know, in my opinion it's well worth it. And yeah, just a great car. So in terms of future content for this car, I am, you know, it may feature in the odd video here and there. Obviously it is the family car. We're not going to be going wild with it. We are considering, of course, an exhaust change, but we'll see. And maybe a wheel change, but we'll see what happens with that. And if any of those things do change, I'll obviously document the process and bring you along on that journey. But I don't think we're going to be able to get much content out of this. Oh god. Okay. Oh, cheers mate. Given that it is the family car, so there you have it. Hopefully this guy, let me rephrase that. Hopefully this video has been useful, guys, and you've been able to kind of extract some useful information from it. If you do own an X3 and you have any tips, please do leave them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If there's any other questions you have about this car, by all means, do drop them down in the comments box as well. But for today's video, guys, that is going to be it. I'm going to go indoors and have my roast. Until my next video, guys, have a good one. Peace.